DC's New Gods were the brainchild of the legendary Jack Kirby. The New Gods belong to the new Genesis and Apokolips, which were formed from the destruction of the ancient world Urgrund. While the Paradise world was ruled by Highfather, its hellish counterpart was ruled by Darkseid. These new gods from Apokolips are juiced up by something called the Source, which gives them powers that make your average superhero look like a rookie. And the same goes for the good guys over at New Genesis, who are even tougher, faster, and smarter, with a side of immortality. But we aren't here to talk about the heroes, we're diving deep into the dark side of Kirby's universe, where the villains give the heroes a good fight and then some more. So in this video, we will explore the top 15 powerhouses of evil from Apokolips. Let's begin, shall we?
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Yuga Kan. Quite obviously, Yuga Kan is the OG bad boy of Apokolips, and he's someone who even Darkseid fears. Not just because he's the father of Darkseid, but also because Yuga Kan is tremendously powerful, which makes him the original head honcho of Apokolips. This guy was a powerhouse and ruled the strongest empire in the universe, but power and a cosmic throne weren't enough for him. He craved the ultimate knowledge and power, the kind that makes you ignore good advice. Isaiah warned him, but Kan was like, nope, I got this, and tried to bust through the source wall. Bad move, of course. The wall trapped him in the Promethean galaxy for like forever. His wife, Hegra, didn't fare well either. Their son, Euxus, aka Darkseid, ensured that she ended up 6 feet under. Darkseid then usurped the throne of Apokolips. A few thousand years later, Yuga Kan broke free. First thing he did after that was go on a cosmic eating spree, gobbling up planets like Velos to juice up. The dude became a bigger threat than Darkseid himself. He even smashed a Thanagarian probe station and caught the eye of Urgrund, who managed to save a few Thanagarians. Energy manipulation is one of Yuga Kan's most formidable powers. He absorbs it, draining planets dry, and can shoot planet-busting blasts. When he escaped from the source wall, the entire Promethean galaxy felt the aftershocks. Matter manipulation is also a pretty cool trick he has up his sleeves, or whatever it is that he has. He reshaped Apokolips to catch Darkseid. Because of his life force manipulation ability, he can drain or boost life forces on a planetary scale. Furthermore, he can twist reality, and in a nutshell, Yuga Kan is a cosmic level threat with a knack for breaking the rules of reality, energy, and life itself. Darkseid. If we're talking about Apokolips's baddest of the bad, Darkseid has to be the one to claim the title. Unlike most villains who have a specific superhero nemesis, Darkseid is a universal headache for the entire DC roster. But where did this cosmic tyrant start? His debut was in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 134 before Jack Kirby gave him the full spotlight in Forever People number 1. Kirby's fourth world series, including Mr. Miracle and New Gods, was its playground before he jumped into the larger DC scene. Now, Darkseid wasn't always Darkseid. As I mentioned earlier, he was born Euxus, the son of Apokolips's royalty Yuga Kan and Hegra. Coming from a place that's pretty much space hell, he was bad news from the get-go. His turning point came when he killed his brother Drax to steal the Omega Force, which turned him into the rock-looking dude we know and renamed himself Darkseid. But Darkseid almost walked away from villainy for Sully, a scientist who wanted to light up the universe, not conquer it. They even had a kid, Calac, but Darkseid's mom, Hegra, didn't quite like their union. She got Sully killed, thinking she was weakening Darkseid. This backfired big time, and Darkseid orchestrated her death to take the throne. Next up, he married Tigra, and they had Orion, who's actually a good guy. The endless scrap between Apokolips and New Genesis led to a wild sun swap deal with a Highfather of New Genesis. Darkseid sent Orion over and got Highfather's kid Scott free, who he dumped into Apokolips's fire pits. Scott didn't stay put though. He escaped, became Mr. Miracle, and reignited the war. In the New 52, Darkseid's backstory got a redo. Originally a low-tier guy in the old gods world, he played them against each other, grabbed their powers, and became the Darkseid we know. This time, he was Highfather's brother, and their beef created New Genesis and Apokolips. Darkseid's big dream is to get the anti-life equation to control all minds. He's convinced humans hold the key, which is why he has made it his hobby to invade Earth and come face-to-face with Superman and the Justice League. Darkseid's been all over DC media, from animations to Zack Snyder's Justice League, where Ray Porter played him. He's also expected in Ava DuVernay's New Gods film. Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf, one of the heavy hitters from Apokolips, made a name for himself when Darkseid eyed Earth for his next takeover. The Earth's heroes, including Superman, put up a solid fight, but Superman got handed over to Desaad and Steppenwolf for some less than friendly experiments. Good thing Cyborg was on the ball and hacked the boom tubes to scatter the invasion forces to who knows where. Years down the line, Steppenwolf was back in action, standing with Darkseid during his scuffle with the anti-god. But Darkseid died in a clash with the anti-monitor, and Apokolips turned into a free-for-all. Steppenwolf, who was leading his hunger dogs, wasn't really eyeing the throne. He was more about survival. Calac, Darkseid's son, hogged most resources and left Steppenwolf and his crew high and dry. Lex Luthor from Earth Zero got roped into this mess and tried to restore some order to chaos, but Lex had kinda had enough. So he called in Superman, his wife, and their son Superboy for backup. Steppenwolf, desperate to feed his crew, thought about turning his hunger dogs into dinner, but Superboy, separated from his folks, said, "No way, man." He swiped the dogs and made a beeline for Calac, who was busy playing with fire in the pits, looking for his dad. After a bit of a tussle, Superman took the reins, got Apokolips back on track, and then zoomed back to Earth. As for his powers, he owes them to his new god genes from Apokolips, who live outside normal time and space and are way beyond the Homo sapiens. But apart from his powers, Steppenwolf is also a great strategist and politician, so that definitely keeps him among Apokolips' finest.
My master, now that the mother boxes have been destroyed,
Desaad. Originally from New Genesis, this guy had a rough start. He was tricked by Darkseid into thinking his pet cat killed his bird, so he buried the cat alive. When the bird showed up, Desaad in rage killed it too. Now this wasn't quite the way of life in New Genesis, so he followed Darkseid to Apokolips, and that's where things got even darker. Named after Marquis Desaad, Desaad became Darkseid's main man, but it wasn't all smooth sailing. Darkseid's mom, Queen Hegra, made him poison Darkseid's love, Princess Suli. Hegra's plan was to get Darkseid hitched to Tigra instead. Darkseid didn't take it well and made Desaad poison Hegra as payback. Since then, Desaad has been Darkseid's go-to henchman. Life with Darkseid is never easy, and Desaad understood it pretty quickly. Desaad's been zapped by Darkseid's Omega Beams more times than anyone can count for every slip-up and double-cross. But Darkseid always brings him back saying, "Hey man, this was the last time." In the more recent events, Desaad seemingly got killed when Darkseid tried to break into the Source Wall. While he was MIA, his second-in-command, Justin, was plotting to take his spot. Darkseid gave Desaad a big job of stealing Highfather's staff from the Source Wall to juice up Darkseid's fading powers. Desaad used Superman, who was brainwashed, to pull it off, but when it was time to power up Darkseid, Desaad tried to take the power for himself, but of course it didn't work out. Darkseid ended up draining the power from Desaad. Calac. Darkseid's muscle-bound son Calac has been living in the shadow of his dad and half-brother Orion. Ever since he was a kid, all Calac wanted was a pat on the back from Darkseid. But with Darkseid's heart set on Orion, Calac was left out in the cold. In his youth, Calac was thrown into Darkseid's Special Powers Force, where he quickly made a name for himself as a top-tier warrior, unmatched in his ferocity. But life at the top wasn't all glory. Desaad, jealous of Calabac's position and Darkseid's attention, constantly messed with him and tried to make him look bad in front of dear old dad. Calac even tried to kill Orion once, but that plan backfired. Darkseid found out and wasn't pleased. He killed Calac, but being Darkseid brought him back eventually. Calac has had his fair share of blunders, like underestimating Superman in a fight to impress Darkseid. That didn't end well either, and Darkseid wasn't one to let it slide. As far as power is concerned, Calac is a beast. He's got superhuman strength that puts him up there with the likes of Superman and Orion. Darkseid even juiced up his son with more power, including these psi beams, basically mental omega beams that fry your brain with pain. His weapon of choice was the Beta Club, which could shoot out nerve beams. Despite being a giant, Calac was also surprisingly fast and agile. Graven. The less-known third son of Darkseid, is a chip off the old block, but with his own flair. Unlike his half-bros Calac and Orion, Graven's mom is still a mystery. He's got the family look and shares dad's powers, just on a lower scale, and like Darkseid, Graven also has that conquer-everything lifestyle. His resume includes wrecking most of the Dark Stars, the galaxy's space cops. Once on a world called Ran, he was hunting for a Zeta Beam device. This gadget could help you travel and transport anything and anywhere across space. Graven's plan was to take its control to send his troops to Apokolips, kick Darkseid off the throne, and be the new big boss, but heroes gonna hero. The surviving Dark Stars teamed up with Green Lantern Kyle Rayner. They took on Graven's forces on Rann, with Kyle and ex-Green Lantern John Stewart going toe-to-toe with Graven. John got roughed up, but Kyle threw Graven off Rann using the Zeta Beam. Where to? Well, Earth's core, of all places. Graven clawed his way out though, ready for round 2 with Kyle. He put up a good fight, but ended up on the losing side. To dodge a total loss, Graven used his own transport tech to fling Kyle into the 30th century. Graven popped up again during the Imperiex crisis and joined forces to stop a galaxy-munching monster. Then, possessed by Brainiac 13, he faced Superman and Darkseid and got schooled by Superman. Darkseid, not one for tolerating embarrassment, gave Graven a one-way ticket to Earth as a timeout. Granny Goodness. Granny Goodness didn't start out as the terror of Apokolips. Once a lowly member of the lowlies, he was just another downtrodden soul until Darkseid spotted her potential and drafted her into his Hounds program. Her first major test was to train a dog named Mercy. She aced it, but when ordered to kill Mercy, she killed the trainer instead. Facing Darkseid, she argued that Mercy's loyalty was to Darkseid, not her. Intrigued, Darkseid ordered Mercy to attack her. Goodness had no choice but to kill her loyal pet. Impressed by her ruthlessness, Darkseid graduated her with top honors and put her in charge of training his troops and the notorious female Furies. She also ran several so-called orphanages, which were basically boot camps for future warriors. One of her star pupils was scot-free. In Countdown, Granny, disguised as Athena, scooped up female fighters under false pretenses. She kept the Greek gods captive, hauling the strongest women to Themyscira for brutal tests to form a new strike force. Her cover was blown by Holly Robinson, Harley Quinn, and Mary Marvel, which led to a chase back to Apokolips, where the Greek gods were freed and Granny met her end at the hands of Infinity Man. Granny Goodness is no ordinary foe. She has the new god physiology, which makes her strong, fast, smart, and practically immortal thanks to being close to the Source Stone. She's a master in combat, interrogation, and strategy, not to mention her knack for turning kids into fierce warriors for Darkseid. She's also pretty handy with new god tech once even swiped the powers of the Greek gods. Leena. Her appearances were pretty standalone in the Silver Age, no big story arcs or continuity, just her popping up now and then. But she appeared more regularly in the 80s with her comeback in Suicide Squad, first seen in issue number 3. She got dragged into the storyline big time. The female Furies were busting glorious Godfrey out of Belle Reve prison, but Bernadette, who was always had it out for Leena, ditched her in Louisiana swamps. That's where the Suicide Squad found her during their Manhunter hunt. With a case of amnesia, Leena joined the squad as Duchess, not quite remembering her past, including who Mr. Miracle was. Eventually, her memories came flooding back and she struggled to reclaim her spot as the Furies' leader. She got involved in the Janus Directive and faced off against Cobra with the squad. Post-battle, she set her sights on Apokolips and kidnapped Barda and some strong squad members to help her out. The rest of the squad followed, which led to a fight on Apokolips. Leena ended up killing Bernadette, but Darkseid didn't quite like that. Unhappy with her messing with Apokolips's affair, he zapped her with his Omega beams, but in true Darkseid fashion, he brought her back under his thumb and led the female Furies once more. Leena's story didn't end there though. She kept scheming to drag Mr. Miracle back to Apokolips as a new god. Leena's got the full package: strength, endurance, and vulnerability, and she's a pro in hand-to-hand combat. She's tough, able to hold her own against powerhouses like Supergirl and Wonder Woman. Knockout. Knockout first appeared in Hawaii, where she met with Superboy. However, her journey took a twist when Amanda Waller roped her into the Suicide Squad for a mission against Silicon Dragons. Things got messy and Knockout was thought to be toast after a base explosion. She wasn't done yet. She popped back up and sided with Superboy against Valor, even though she's rounded up Valor too. Turns out, Knockout had a history as one of Granny's Goodness female Furies in Apokolips. Tired of her life, especially after Big Barda ditched the Furies for Mr. Miracle, Knockout made her own exit. Chained up for punishment, she broke free and dived into the fire pits, only to land in Hawaii via boom tube. But you can't ditch the Furies that easily. They showed up in Hawaii, which led to another battle with Superboy, Knockout, and the local cops on one side and the Furies on the other. The cops thought that Knockout was a hero until they found out she took down one of their own just because he was in her way. Superboy, in denial, teamed up with her on the run. Their duo didn't last long though, though. After a confrontation with an explorer named Victor Volcanum, Superboy saw Knockout's true nature. She wanted Victor dead. Superboy didn't. Knockout went to do it herself, revealing her ruthless side. Superboy managed to subdue her and brought her to justice. He was locked up, but not for good. Knockout broke out and joined a society, secretly working for her lover, Scandal Savage, from the Secret Six. With the Six, she had her ups and downs, like almost getting off by Vandal Savage's goons and hooking up with Deadshot, much to Scandal's dismay. Mantis. Mantis, a bug person from New Genesis, is a mix of ambition and raw power jazzed up by Darkseid himself. Mantis ditched New Genesis first for Apokolips and then hit Earth with a plan to conquer as much as he could. Darkseid was all for it, hoping Mantis' chaos would help him find the anti-life equation hidden in a human mind. Nicknamed the Energy Vampire, Mantis had this freaky ability to suck energy out of his foes. If he ever got beat down, he'd just rest in a tomb-like cocoon to get his mojo back. His Earth takeover hit a roadblock when the Forever People called in the Infinity Man, who put a stop to Mantis' rampage. Not one to give up, Mantis rallied the bug colonies of New Genesis and launched an all-out invasion on Earth. That time he squared off against Lightray, Orion, and Forager. They gave him a run for his money and made him and his bug army to beat a hasty retreat. Mantis stayed busy helping Darkseid with his Earth-conquering hobbies, but when Orion took over Apokolips, Mantis zipped over to New Genesis to set up some fire pits, but got shut down fast by Mark Moonrider and a big bear from the Forever People. Like a lot of Darkseid's crew, Mantis had his moments of rebellion, but let's just say Darkseid wasn't the forgiving type. Mantis felt that wrath more than once. In the death of the New God series, Mantis met his end. He got caught up in a tussle with Superman and Orion and found himself at the wrong side of the Infinity Man, who was rolling with his source. It was a cosmic level battle and Mantis just couldn't hack it. Devilance. Devilance, the god of the pursuit from the New Gods, has a rep as a top-tier tracker and a ruthless hunter. His first big job was to take down Darkseid's rivals, the Forever People. He found them on a Pacific island, but the Forever People brought in Infinity Man. Devilance and Infinity Man fought so hard that they blew up the island, and both were thought to have been vaporized. Infinity Man came back to hang with the Forever People, but Devilance ghosted for a long time. When Devilance resurfaced, he was on a whole new level, bigger, badder, and on a remote alien planet. He captured Starfire and soon Adam Strange, and Animal Man got caught in his web too. Devilance was convinced these Earthlings saw something meant only for godly eyes, so he made it his mission to catch them. But our trio wasn't really in the mood for crap. They torched Devilance's face and bolted, but not before swiping his lance to juice up their space cruiser. They left him tangled in his own traps. Starfire even mused that the entire planet seemed like a Devilance-designed death trap. Just when they thought they shook him off, Devilance rocked up to the spaceship, but Lobo showed up and literally tore Devilance apart. Beyond his hunting skills, Devilance was a bit of a brainiac. He built some wild stuff like a terraforming machine that turned planets into killer playgrounds with stuff like nerve poison fruits and hydraulic killer flowers. He also came up with an anti-teleportation shield to block teleporters and boom tubes from crashing his party at the Citadel. Agog. Lord Agog is someone driven by a deep belief that the Fourth World has lost its way, and he's all about bringing back the old ways. He's got this holy book, The Final Day, which he treats like the ultimate truth. In his version of events, Yuga Kan was the real deal, a righteous god who got backstabbed by Darkseid and the Highfather. His big mission is to get his hands on the full anti-life equation. Why to spread his own world gospel across the universe. And he thought he found a piece of this cosmic puzzle in Dreamer Beautiful from the Forever People. Dreamer had this vision that Agog was planning to offer her up to the cult of Yuga Kan, and she wasn't wrong. Agog was pretty much obsessed with this idea. Glorious Godfrey. Glorious Godfrey, a smooth-talking agent of chaos, was Darkseid's main man on Earth. His job was to stir up enough trouble to set the stage for Darkseid's grand entrance. He had his own crew, the Justifiers, who were Earthlings, totally hooked on his words. They got an extra dose of control from these special helmets they sported, which turned them into mind-controlled minions. Godfrey and his Justifiers had a simple agenda: track down and wipe out anyone against their cause. Their prime targets were the Forever People, but things didn't go as planned when the Forever People called in Infinity Man. Just when Infinity Man was about to take Godfrey down, Darkseid stepped in and banished Infinity Man. Godfrey had his doubts about the whole anti-life equation though, but despite his skepticism, he kept on leading his Justifier army and even launched an assault on Seraphim and the Super Cycle. Amazing Grace. So Superman heads to Apokolips, right? He's trying to prove Darkseid's meddling with G. Gordon Godfrey's antiques on Earth. That's when we meet Grace, who supposedly gets caught by Darkseid's goons and is about to be barbecued in a fire pit. Classic Darkseid strategy to smoke out Superman. However, the Man of Steel, being the hero he is, swoops in to save Grace but falls into the pits himself. He crawls out but loses his memories and powers. Grace, likely under Darkseid's orders, cozies up to Superman, spinning his yarn that he's Darkseid's son. Superman, with no memories to counter this, buys into it. With his powers back thanks to his new alliance with Darkseid, Superman leads the charge for Team Darkseid. Things heat up when he faces off against Darkseid's real son, Orion. Orion uses the Mother Box's mojo to zap Superman's memories back, but Orion's a good guy, so he wipes Superman's memory of all the bad stuff he did under Grace's spell. No guilt trips here. Chroma. Chroma's a bit of a mystery here. They were first created by Roy Thomas, Dan Thomas, and Todd McFarlane. This non-binary celestial being first showed up in Infinity Inc. number 14, baffling everyone from bystanders to doctors with their whole androgynous thing. They made their entrance while floating above an LA rock concert. Infinity Inc. wasn't having it though. They scrapped with Chroma, knocking them out cold, but Chroma was just faking to check out how humans react to their Doomsday tune. All they want was to drop their cosmic track and peep the crowd's reaction. While Infinity Inc. was busy arguing over what to do with Chroma, pleased with the chaos, just up and left Earth. Job done, I guess. Chroma's story took a dark turn when they got killed during a clash involving Gog and Kingdom Come Superman. During post-Flashpoint Infinite Frontier, Chroma was back in the mix. Jade and Obsidian ran into them after swearing off Earth for 1,000,000 years. But hey, the universe got a reboot, new vibes, new sounds. Chroma was curious about how Earth would meet its end, and they planned to sing it into nothingness. Obsidian, ever the helper, zapped them into the Shadowlands to croon to their heart's content. So these were the 15 most powerful bad guys and girls from Apokolips. Think we missed someone? Feel free to let us know in the comments below.